All right, everybody. Hi, welcome back. Thank you for coming to tonight's discussion share on what I have learned from Spirit. But the thing that I wanted to cover tonight is spirit guides, angels, light beings, the difference between your soul and your spirit. So that's really what I want to talk about today and kind of share with you about the different things that I learned in my journey after my awakening. So the first thing I really want to talk about is like what's a soul and what's a spirit, because a soul is one thing, a spirit is another thing, although they're the same thing. So that sounds really confusing. But if you think about it, the soul would be the entirety of every past life that you've ever had, right? So the soul is a composition of your entire existence. So I can talk to your soul from any existence that you have, past life, future lives, that would be connected to your soul. The spirit or your spirit would be the part of you that's connected to this physical experience. So your soul could be divided into 8 pieces, and each one of those pieces of your soul is a spirit. So your soul would have 8 spirits, which is just a little piece of your soul that's indicated for the current lifetime and the current body that you're in. So when we refer to the soul, we refer to all of it. When I refer to the spirit, I mean the part of your higher self that's connected to this earth experience. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Why 8?
Oh, no, it doesn't have to be 8. You could have thousands and thousands of lifetimes, but that'll kind of bring me into the Akashic Record explanation a little bit. So the soul has many lifetimes, and let's say you have 100 lifetimes. In this current lifetime that you have, it's probably not really important to know about all 100 of your lifetimes. There's no need for you to know them. So what is of need to know? It would be whichever of your lifetimes are connected to the soul project that you're doing on this earth. So your soul project is kind of like you're in heaven, it's before you're born, and you tell God, I'm going to do something for humanity. Because we're all coming here in all of these lifetimes for a reason. Right? It's not just to like suffer and work hard and like learn things. It's really to give something to humanity. And so before we come to the earth, we will tell God, okay, I'm going to go to earth and this is going to be the thing that I'm giving as a gift to humanity. And then God says, in my assumption, how many lifetimes do you think it's going to take you to create that gift for the betterment of humanity, for the elevation of humanity, for the soul recognition of humanity? How many lifetimes? So you may say, well, I need 5 lifetimes to do that, or I need 8 lifetimes to do that, or I need 12 lifetimes to do that. But those 12 lifetimes will all be connected to the one soul gift that you'll be giving to humanity. So if you have 100 lifetimes, it's not really important to know about them. You really just need to know about the ones that are indicated for the journey of your soul and all of these lifetimes that you're having. Does that make sense? Okay, so it doesn't have to be 8. Now, when I if I connect with somebody and I look at their soul and I want to find out how many lifetimes are connected to this soul project, I would go toward their heart chakra, because in my interpretations over the years, what I've learned is that your lifetimes are divided into like what would look like a ladder on your heart when I focus on that. Everybody can get all of the information that I have. The way I go about getting the information might be different than the way you go about getting the information. So maybe in your quest, your soul might say, divide the crown into 8 pieces. I don't know. For me, and my interpretation with Spirit, I go to the heart to find out how many lifetimes are relevant for the current soul project. And so if your heart is divided into 5 pieces, I know you have 5 lives, or 5 rungs. To me, it's like a symbolism like of a ladder. So when I look at people, I can tell if I connect for that purpose, what lifetime are they on for that soul project? Are they on lifetime number 2, lifetime number 4? Are they between lifetime number 2 and number 4? Because I'll have a vision maybe of your soul having one foot on the bottom rung of the ladder and one foot on the 5th rung of the ladder. So then I know that lives 2 and 5, they go together. And either life 2 is going to connect with us because you have some issue you got to solve for life number 2, or life number 2 has some really good information that you totally need to integrate into the 5th lifetime so you can get through this lifetime in order to be on the journey to complete your soul mission here on earth. I know that's a little off into the Akashic Records, but we can that's just about past lives. So how do we recognize what each past life is? We go to the Akashic Record for that past life. So if you go for an Akashic Record reading and we're really looking to see about things in this lifetime again might point us to 2 other lifetimes that are relevant and important. So for your previous lifetimes, which would still be the entirety of your soul. So what we talked about right before you got here is the difference between the soul and the spirit. And the soul is a collection of all of your lifetimes and your whole entire existence. The spirit is a piece of your soul that comes into this current body. So your soul can have many lifetimes. So does anybody have any questions about that? Because seriously, if I start talking about that, I will go on and on and on about Akashic Records and lifetimes and soul purposes and things like that. So why don't we ask questions about that if you have them at this point?
I have a question.
Sure.
When you describe, what is Akashic Record?
Akashic Record is kind of like spiritual documentation of every part of your existence. So every lifetime, every thought, every deed, every action, every feeling, every emotion, and all of that, from what I understand, and I didn't read it, so I just understand it, but Archangel Metatron really is like God's right-hand archangel, and he is the keeper of what Christians or Catholics call the Book of Life. Have you ever heard that?
I haven't.
Okay, so
Sure.
Christians or Catholics call it like the Book of Life.
Okay.
More of your Middle Eastern, I think, Hindu and things like that, they call it the Akashic Records. So really the Book of Life, the Akashic Records, the Hall of Records is another one that they use, another description for it, but it's basically just your entire existence and spiritual documentation that you can access in an altered state of consciousness if you can attain that. A lot of people try to attain an altered state of consciousness either through meditation. Meditation is the way that people really think about it. Yoga, you can tell us all about that. And you do Reiki, right? So we're a lot of your practitioners are going to know about the importance of elevating your consciousness outside of this human experience and trying to transcend it. So in this human experience, you pretty much know about your human life. But your soul can give you guidance and things like that. And a lot of times that guidance can come from friends and relatives in heaven, other light beings, angels, your past lives, your soul, and your soul's experience. What I love about being able to, if you can achieve that, where you can transcend that experience of humanity and reach the level of your soul, then you basically have all of the answers that you need to know about everything in your life. And so some people do that through meditation. Again, other people can change their state of consciousness through dance or crafting, or basically when you transcend the human experience, you enter into a space of no time. So there's no time involved in it. So think of something that like you like to do that 3 hours later, you're like, holy crap, like where did the last 3 hours go to? Like, oh my God, I lost time. You're in a transcended state of consciousness because only the human consciousness experiences time because it's mortal. And the rest of part of us is not mortal, it's immortal. And so that part of us doesn't experience time. So anytime you're not participating in time, that would be that your soul and your body are in a very nice balance. That really, like the sun and the moon, everything that the sun sees, the moon sees 2 times a day, right? Because they rise and they set. So 2 times a day, they're parallel. 2 times a day, they know the same exact thing and they see the same exact thing. In a transcended state of consciousness, when you are in a loss of time, what the soul knows, the body knows. So therefore, you have a full open connection between both of those things because you're in that state of having the ability to see both. And that's what we try to reach. So I do suggest to people that when they feel that that's coming or that they're in that, if they want to attain a transcended state of consciousness, because maybe you have a question for your soul that you would like to get an answer to. And you've asked 1,000 friends, and you talk to your therapist about it, you talk to your husband about it, you talk to your kids about it, you talk to your best friend about it, but you still can't seem to make a decision. The real best way to go about that is put yourself in a space of no time. And prior to putting yourself in a space of no time, tell your soul what the question is. Say, I need clarity on, I usually do like a little prayer, and I just say, I need clarity, I need to know what to do about, I give you an example. My daughter has a desmoid tumor in her foot, and we've been struggling with that ever since she was a little girl. So she's had a couple surgeries, and recently, aggressively, it's wrapped itself up around her leg. So it's getting to a point of extreme danger. So what they have presented to us is chemotherapy and radiation and surgery. And I am very conflicted about chemotherapy, radiation, and all of the above, because she's only 19 and it can limit, we all know the results of injecting that poison in your body and what it does to you, and I really am trying to avoid that with her so much. But she's my child. The doctors are telling me that this is her best course of action. We don't want her to lose her foot, so they're gonna poison her so she doesn't lose her foot. And this is all that's going through my mind. So I am so perplexed about this, and this happened last week that we got the news that this was, a thing again. And I purposely put myself in a state of no time, and the question I went in there is, what approach do you want me to take? And so I started to do my no time thing, which was cleaning my house. My house is immaculate this week, you guys, totally. But it does help me lose no time. It helps me evade time. So I went in, starting in the bathroom, like, you have to tell me what to do with her, because now I don't know what to do. Because now I'm a mom, I'm a human being, that's my child, I'm conflicted. I know my spiritual beliefs, I know the human beliefs, and I really do not know which one to pick, because if anything goes wrong in either of those paths, I will feel horrible that I guided my daughter that way. So when I got to the kitchen after the bathroom and the linen closet, I still hadn't heard nothing back, didn't get any epiphanies. I'm worried about what's in the junk drawer and how many supplements do I have in this cabinet that I'm actually not using, different things like that. And then all of a sudden, I saw just this picture popped into my head of this movie that my husband was watching. That's this Spanish Jesus movie. And it was Jesus talking to this guy, and they were breaking the bread. It wasn't the Last Supper, nothing. And then they were pulling something off a tree, and they were eating what was off the tree. To me, it looked like leaves. It looked like spinach leaves. And I was like, oh my God, that's the weirdest visit. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, that randomly popped into my head. I'm thinking about what's in the junk drawer, and I have to clean all the crap under the sink because they use it like a storage bin. If I say clean the house up, straighten up the house, everything gets thrown into places, so you open it and it's... So really, literally, that's what my human brain was on when that thought just kind of popped into my head, this memory of walking through the living room when my husband is watching this, and that one scene that I swear to God, I didn't even know that I saw it. I remember walking through thinking you're watching another Spanish Jesus TV show, because for all of the last 2 weeks it's been on TV. On telemundo, it's just on. So every time I walk through and he's watching, you're watching another one? And so I don't really remember seeing that specific scene until it actually came into my head. I'm like, oh, yeah, I saw that when I was walking through the thing. But the thing in that memory that popped into my head randomly when I was thinking about the junk under the sink, it just kind of popped in. But the biggest thing was the bread and the spinach leaves off this tree. And I was like, okay, I asked a question before I came into my no time with my soul, trying to get my soul and myself to be able to see the same thing at the same time, because I need a balanced decision here. So, since the biggest thing was eating and trees, I said, that's diet. That is diet. At the time I was in the kitchen, and so I'm not going to lie, I am angry that my daughter is going through this. And I'm a human being, and I got angry at Jesus. I'm not going to lie. He's okay with it. He got pissed off in the temple and the synagogue and threw shit all over the temple when people were bartering, and so he understands anger. So it's okay. And I did apologize after, but I have the Sacred Heart of Jesus hanging in my kitchen, and then I have the Sacred Heart of Mary hanging in my kitchen. And because that popped into my head and I started thinking about it, I was like, that's diet. And then I looked at the picture and I was like, well, you're going to have to freaking tell me then what to do and how to freaking cook, because I don't know how to make a living diet. I don't know how to make a plant spinach-based diet. I eat tacos. Like, I don't even know. And why is she going through this? And I was angry. And so I let it go. I finished cleaning the house, and I'm thinking the whole time about nutrition and diet and what kind of steps should we take. And so I'm just taking you through the process so you can see how you can obtain these pieces of information and guidance for yourself. And so I was looking at, I was working later in the evening, and I was going through emails, and there was an email that came from this lady that owns a holistic shop, and she was doing a gong thing, and there was a link on her thing that said something about nutrition, and I clicked on it, and it actually brought me to a whole page of holistic practitioners, and strangely enough, it was centered on cancer. So I looked through them, and one's in Brazil, and one's in Mexico, and one's in the Ukraine, and one's in Australia, and one's in London, and there's one in Wheaton, Illinois. An hour and 35 minutes from my house. I'm like, let me click on it. I clicked on it. It says Total Health Institute. They don't treat the cancer, they treat the nutrition. They treat the body, the hormones. They give you a living diet. And I have a consult with the doctor tomorrow, because what they do is they change your life in the way of what you eat, how you balance, what supplements. It's a whole entire plan. So I'll be having a consult with him to see if they'll accept my daughter into that practice. And so now I know what to say to our surgeon when I talk to him on Friday, because I'll be able to get information from the holistic doctor when I say, what about radiation? Can we try this first? Now I'm going to have all my information. I'm sure I'll have more questions after that, but I'm no longer freaking out. I also know that there's something else I can look at, and I can work it out with the doctor. So I don't know where we're at right now, but that's the only thing I needed to know. Do I jump into this radiation, or do I look at something else? So I've had radiation in my life for different things. My mom had radiation, she had cancer. My dad had radiation, he had cancer. I know a lot. If my spirit wanted me to see a damn thing about radiation, she'd have put a radiation vision in my brain. She would have gave me a vision of driving my mom or a memory to her radiation treatments. My soul could have showed me that, but my soul didn't. She showed me picking leaves in Jesus' time with bread off a spinach tree, if there's such a thing. But basically, that you just got to understand that your soul knows every part of your life. And I didn't even remember about that memory. That's just the piece of my life that my soul, when I asked that question in my no time space, that I asked, I need to know this information. So it's your job to go to the Rolodex of my life, because everything I've seen, heard, tasted, touched, witnessed, participated in, or slid through, it's all in my soul's records. It's all in me. So all my soul has to do is go pick something from my life that will answer that question. If radiation was the answer, I could have seen my mom, my dad, my grandma, my aunt, my neighbor, but I didn't. I saw food, I saw diet, I saw green. So that means the way I'm interpreting that no time is to move forward in this way. So your soul can put something in your brain that's a memory of your life, and you'll be like, I haven't thought about that in 35 years. That's interesting. But what you want to do is you want to look at that overall understanding, and whatever memory comes to you when you put that question out there in your no time, whatever pops in, It might not even be that. It could be a memory of a TV show you watched when you were 7, that the guy was in an accident. Now you know you shouldn't buy that car. Pick a different car. Try a question on that car. You see what I mean? So don't question or be surprised or doubt a response that comes to you in a no-time state, because in a no-time state, your humanity is not involved. Your humanity becomes the observer to information flying in. Does that make sense? I know we're way off of what we wanted to talk about, but any questions about that? Because I don't really even know what we just talked about. I do a decision-making process and how to, yes.
Sorry.
No, definitely, please, because that'll keep me, I'm not sure where we're supposed to go. I have like a bazillion things flying in.
I was just thinking of this because I've been doing a lot of pendulums, but I'm also trying to do the relationship and doing all this connection with my soul and stuff. But is it kind of cheating to do a pendulum?
No, pendulums are just that you're expressing a desire for an outside external energy to be the energy in that pendulum to answer your questions.
Also, it's not your soul that's answering that?
Traditionally, it isn't your soul in a pendulum, from what I understand. You can invite your soul to be in the pendulum.
That's what I do.
Yeah, you can definitely do that and invite your soul into the pendulum, but you are not in a no-time space when you do that, right? And so you would have to then clarify for yourself that, see, in this transcendent state of consciousness, when the physical mind and the spiritual mind are like the sun and the moon and they're in that parallel state, you can trust that truth and test it. I tested it every time. I spent a few years testing and making sure that that's actually the way it's working. And so if you test it, you'll feel comfortable in doing that, and then you can trust anytime you're in the no-time state. From my experience, I can tell you can trust when you're in the no-time state. But if you want to prove it to yourself, test it. Don't test it when you're getting on a plane, though. Okay, so for a pendulum, because that's not part of your chakra system, what I'm telling you is part of your chakra system. It's your soul and your body using the same thing, your body, to translate information using both parts of yourself. So in doing that, you're actually inviting your soul to kind of come outside of yourself and be more of an external energy to you. Put that energy into the pendulum and then ask the pendulum your yes/no questions. The only risk with that is every time you use the pendulum for a question, you have to do your truth question first, or you won't be able to tell if on that day that is the truth.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
Did you go to some classes on pendulum? How did you start using?
It was Sue, but I knew about it from before. So
Okay.
Since I did a class a few months ago,
Okay.
with Sue, but I've been wanting to work on not using it all the time and to use myself.
So that is kind of how you would use yourself to do that, but in just for the pendulum or for any external equipment, prompt, tarot card, pendulum, grandma's ring, a rosary, whatever you are using as your source of interpreting information, you have to make sure that you and that thing have a relationship and that you can trust it. And you can trust the way the energy flows into that external physical object. So you invite yourself or your mom into it, but you have to do a truth question. So first you invite the energy, and then when the energy resides in it, you have to say a truth question to know if you can trust the energy that's in there. So then you say something like, what is an absolute truth? So you have your pendulum, and you say, you put it down, and I know you know how to pick it up. Well, I might do it different, so I won't counter what Sue teaches in her class. I didn't attend it. But I kind of hold the whole pendulum the way I can, from my expression all the way through my chakras, as long as it is. And then when I do that, I kind of try to become in a relationship with that pendulum. I bring it into my heart chakra, my solar plexus, and my root. And so I bring it in through my physical life, which is my emotional self, and then my solar plexus, which is my soul. That's my sense of self right there. So now I know that I'm in a relationship with this, and I'd like to invite my mom to come into to be the energy driving the force of my pendulum. So now I'm going to ask a question, and that question is going to be my truth question. and I'm going to tell any statement that I know that today is true. And I say today, and I'll tell you why. Truth today. My name is Nicole Chicoteca. Today I feel this is my name, this is my truth. I'm going to ask the pendulum. The pendulum is going to give me a yes or a no. So the first question I ask my pendulum is the one that I know for me is true. Right? That I know for me is true. If the pendulum answers what I already know for me is true, I can trust it. Now I'm going to ask it a lie, because I want to know if it can interpret my lie as well, the energy that doesn't match. And so I'll say, my name is Rebecca Stone. And I'll bring that energy in, and I'll really say it. My name is Rebecca Stone. And that pendulum better go the other way, because if it doesn't go the other way, I can't trust that pendulum, because I know damn well that that's a lie. Now I ask the pendulum my maybe question. Okay? And that could be whatever maybe it is. Maybe am I going to be able to pay the mortgage? And I could really be in a state of maybe. Like, I got $800, but I don't know if I'm going to get the other $800. Like, probably I'm going to, but I'm not really sure. So I know that I'm on the teeter-totter about that. So now with my pendulum, I've actually defined my truth motion, my lie motion, and my maybe motion. A lot of times people will use these external objects and they trust that object. They don't trust the relationship between them and that object, because that object has to resonate with you. That pendulum has to be part of you. And so that's how you would go about using it. Just before you ever ask any questions that you really need guidance on, you are going to want to make sure that you know your truth, your no, and your maybe.
I just didn't know if it was kind of cheating.
Not at all. You can definitely ask your soul to step away from, your physical body and give you a sign with something that you're using. If you're using the tarot cards, or if you're using the pendulum, or if you're using a crystal, you can always do that.
Okay.
So, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions about that? Okay. So I know we kind of went off into a little different tangent, and our goal today was to talk about spirit guides and guardian angels and things. And so what I really started to talk about was the difference between the soul and the spirit. Again, the soul is the entirety of you. Akashic Records is how you tap into all of that information. If you want to resonate in a oneness with your soul, choose no time. Put your question out there before your no time experience. Wait, keep doing that no time experience until something comes. When something comes, that's then your answer. And you'll know, because it won't be about what you're thinking about. It'll be totally random. Okay? Thank you everyone so much.